De Orthographia bohemica is a Latin work attributed to reformer Jan Hus from the early 15th century, in which the Czech language was given a codified spelling, provenance. While the author's identity and the precise date of authorship are unknown, it is widely held that the author is Jan Hus and the year of creation somewhere between 1406 and 1412, based on historical and philological studies. Contents. The primary purpose of De Orthographia bohemica was to simplify and unify Czech orthography in order to promote literacy by making the language clearer and easier to read and write. Instead of representing sounds using digraphs and trigraphs, it proposed a diacritic orthography, where one letter indicates only one sound, and different but related sounds are distinguished by diacritics. Briefly, one can summarize the spelling changes in Orthographia bohemica as follows. The basic letters of the Latin alphabet were to be used for writing Czech, with sound values according to the conventions of medieval Latin pronunciation in Bohemia at the time. The only difference was that the letter C was always to be used to represent the sound TS, and never for K. D represented D, as in Latin, and the letter G before E and I represented J. In other cases G represented dot. Czech consonants that Latin did not possess would be represented by a Latin letter adorned with a diacritic dot. In particular, as Czech additionally possessed palatalized consonants and a hard L, the dot indicated softness above N, D, T, C and Z, and hardness for L. Long vowels were to be indicated by the carca above A, E, I and Y. Dot. To illustrate the simple and revolutionary nature of this spelling, take as an example the various ways of representing R, compared with that seen in the grammar of Jan Gebauer. In manuscripts written before Hus, all of the following representations were in use: RZ, RZ, RS, RZS, RZSS, ZR, senior, RZS and RZZ. Long vowels were written either with no indication of the length, or written double, or with any of a wide and unstandardized range of diacritical marks. One could not even assume that the same scribe would consistently use their own conventions, and the use often varied even within a single manuscript. Significance and impact. Orthographia bohemica was the first known document in which such spelling reforms were suggested for a Slavic language. It is not yet fully clear where Jan Hus drew inspiration for this work. Considered in the context of the contemporaneous study of letters of St. Jerome by Danish scholars of Hebrew working at the Sorbonne, there was a good knowledge of such orthographic practices at the time. According to a study by F. V. Mers, a stimulus for the project was the author's knowledge of Glagolitic used by Croatian monks in the Emmaus monastery in Prague. The significance of the document lies in the longevity and wide application of its logical system of diacritics. Its impact is apparent in the names Tiskama Lovnice, the first grammar of the Czech language, published in 1533, but the adoption of the new rules was relatively slow and far from uniform. Throughout the 16th century, some printers and typesetters ignored the prescriptions of Orthographia bohemica and continued to maintain some digraphs, although the use became considerably more uniform. In addition, scribes adopted the new rules much more slowly than book printers. Discovery and publication. The manuscript for Orthographia bohemica was found by František Palacký on 13 August 1826, in Trebon in the south of Bohemia. The public was made aware of the existence of the work a year later, with the first issue of the newly founded journal Časopis Společnosti Plastenskatho Museum v Czech, but its publication had to wait a further 30 years. The Latin text with translation appeared in 1857 in Slavish Bibliothek in Vienna thanks to A. V. Sembra, who worked at the time at the university as professor of Czech language and literature. A year later in Prague, the fifth volume of Mistra Jana Husisi Brane Spizy appeared with a Czech translation and a short introduction by Václav Fladčans. To date, the latest Czech translation of this manuscript. The Latin text was published twice more, first in the unaltered Sembra edition by Slavish Bibliothek and second with a German translation and commentary by J. Stropfer in Wiesbaden, Germany in 1968. Sembra's Latin text was probably taken directly from Palatsky's copy of the manuscript. Stropfer produced a new revised edition of the manuscript. A critical evaluation comparing the preserved Trebon manuscript with the extant excerpts has yet to appear. Preserved manuscripts. A manuscript of Orthographia bohemica in Jan Hus' hand has still not been found. The only complete copy of the manuscript which is available for study was written by a monk Ulrich Kris of Trebon. Its age cannot be accurately determined as the copy is not dated. The end of the manuscript contains the inscription in I Leonardi I.e. on January 6. However, this may indicate either the date of completion of the original manuscript or Ulrich Kris's copy. In the same volume as Orthographia bohemica, however, are some more works. 3 of them bear the year 1459 and 1 1457. The writings are not arranged chronologically, however, and so they serve only as an approximate guide for determining the age of the manuscript. In addition to the Kris manuscript, there are various excerpts deposited in the archives of Prague Castle. Anna Skovidmanova's comparative study with the manuscript of Ulrich Kris shows that the Trebon manuscript is unreliable in many places.